Namaskar. A warm welcome to World News, an Indian perspective on All India Radio. This is Ramya and with me is Renu Kataria, bringing glimpses of the major developments of the day from across the globe. Over the next half an hour, we shall bring you the latest from the world of politics, economy, sports, entertainment and more. The headlines. External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar meets Egyptian counterpart Sameh Shoukry to discuss opportunities in various fields. The 5th Assembly of International Solar Alliance to start on Monday in New Delhi. India needs to make consistent efforts to rank among top 10 countries in Global Innovation Index, says Commerce and Industry Minister Piyush Goyal. Usaid launches 30-plus development programs in Afghanistan to bring life-saving assistance to vulnerable communities. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman says India would like G20 to explore potential for multilateral development banks to enhance climate financing through intermediating resources. India rejects Global Hunger Index Report 2022, says attempt to taint country's image. In shooting, India clinches 3 gold medals at the ISSF World Championships in Cairo, Egypt, and in ICC T20 World Cup. In the opening match, Namibia beat Sri Lanka by 55 runs, while in the second match, Netherlands won by 3 wickets. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar met his Egyptian counterpart Sameh Shoukry in Cairo on Saturday. The two leaders discussed regional developments and exchanged views on the Ukraine conflict and the Indo-Pacific. Mr. Jaishankar is in Egypt on a 2-day visit at the invitation of his Egyptian counterpart, Mr. Shoukry. Addressing a joint news conference with his Egyptian counterpart, Dr. Jaishankar said India and Egypt have stepped up defense and security cooperation and will explore opportunities in renewable energy, trade, tourism and connectivity. Dr. Jaishankar said bilateral trade had recorded the highest ever figure of $7.2 billion last year. He also extended India's support to Egypt for its COP27 presidency. The External Affairs Minister said in a tweet, a warm and productive meeting with Mr. Shoukry reflected deep-rooted ties between the two countries as they mark 75 years of diplomatic relations this year. Later in the day, Dr. Jaishankar met and interacted with the Indian community in Egypt. He thanked them for advancing national interests and shaping the image of India in the region. The External Affairs Minister said India and Egypt's cooperation in the multilateral forums remained robust and welcomed Egyptian participation in G20 next year and in BRICS New Development Bank and the Shanghai Cooperation Organization SCO. India-Africa Defence Dialogue will be held on the 18th of October on the sidelines of Defence Expo 2022 in Gandhinagar, Gujarat. The dialogue will explore new areas of convergence for mutual engagement, including in areas like capacity building, training, cybersecurity, maritime security and counterterrorism. The broad theme of the dialogue is India-Africa, adopting strategy for synergizing and strengthening defense and security cooperation. Defense Minister Rajnath Singh will host the defense ministers of African nations. India and Africa share close and historical ties. India's approach towards Africa is guided by the Kampala principles enunciated by Prime Minister Narendra Modi in 2018. The first ever India-Africa Defence Ministers Conclave was held in Lucknow, Uttar Pradesh in conjunction with Defence Expo in 2020.
The 5th Assembly of International Solar Alliance will be held in New Delhi from Monday, October 17th till 20th October under India's presidency. Participants from 109 countries will share their experiences towards a low-carbon economy through promotion of solar energy. The Assembly is the apex decision-making body of International Solar Alliance ISA and makes decisions concerning the implementation of the ISA's framework agreement. It meets annually at the ministerial level at the ISA seat. In our today's Hotspot section, we bring you a discussion on an exclusive interview with Dr. Ajay Mathur, Director General, International Solar Alliance. In conversation are Dr. Ajay Mathur, Director General, International Solar Alliance, and Sonu Sood, AIR correspondent.
The International Solar Alliance, ISA, is holding its 5th Assembly in Delhi from 17th to 20th October. To give us a deeper insight into this massive global collaborative effort for energy transformation, we have with us Director General of International Solar Alliance, Dr. Ajay Mathur. Dr. Mathur, a warm welcome to you from All India Radio.
Thank you very much.
Sir, can you tell us about the genesis and key objectives of International Solar Alliance and what has been India's role in ISA?
The ISA was mooted as a global alliance at the 2015 Conference of the Parties, the Climate Change Convention, which happened in Paris, by Prime Minister Modi and then French President François Hollande. And the goal was that this is an international organization of countries which seeks to make solar as the energy source of choice across the world. I think it was in 2018 that the international treaty was signed by an adequate number of countries, and there was a large ceremony in Delhi where the various heads of governments of these various countries came in. Since then we have grown. Today 110 countries have signed that framework agreement and 90 have actually ratified it through their parliaments as well. This is our fifth assembly, and at this meeting all our member countries would be represented. We will be represented at the minister level by 30 countries. We look forward to welcoming all the delegates to this meeting as we continue with our work on making solar as the energy source of choice across all our member countries.
So what is the agenda and focus areas of this year's assembly?
If I can backtrack a little bit, one of the key areas is the issue that the solar investment has been very lopsided, and what does Solar Alliance do to address it? In 2021, there was a record amount of investment that went into the solar sector globally, or went into electricity sector. In the solar sector alone, it was $200 billion, but 74% of it went to the OECD countries in China. Only 5% of it went to all of Africa. And Africa is the continent where the sunlight is brightest, where the largest energy demand is occurring. This led us to talk to investors, and we talked to about 100 investors to find out what the problem was. And they said that the confidence with which they lend or invest in many of the African countries is wanting, and consequently we as the Solar Alliance decided that we needed to do something about it. At this assembly, we will take forward a proposal to create a risk management facility, which will comprise of a payment guarantee mechanism, which means that if the country is unable to pay, this would be the payer of last resort. This would hopefully create the confidence for the private sector investors around the world to invest in solar in those countries where the payment guarantee mechanism has been done. So this is one of the big things that we want to do. The second big thing that we want to do at this assembly, and we are taking a proposal there, is what we call as the solar exchange. This is a way to create entrepreneurs, particularly in Africa, but then in other countries as well. We will set up 10 problem statements. We will pick up 2 people from across the continent who are the best in providing responses to this, and provide them with the kind of exposure that they need to attract funding, to attract technology, to be able to source materials and to supply to the markets, which is why we are doing this in collaboration with Invest India and with the World Association of Investment Promotion Organizations. Together we believe that the international investors coming into Africa from the one side and with local entrepreneurs being developed on the other side will create the environment for large-scale change in the part of the world where much has been lacking in the solar area.
So how has the ISA initiative boosted collaboration and knowledge sharing between member countries on technological, R&D, financing and programmatic fronts?
As far as the ISA is concerned, as we talk to leaders, we realize that there are, 4 key issues, but let me focus on 2 of them. One is we need to provide information, the latest information as far as technology is concerned, as far as prices are concerned, as far as investments are concerned. This is an area in the solar world where these things change almost on a daily basis. So at the assembly or the day after the assembly, we will be bringing out reports on progress in solar technology, progress in solar markets, and progress in solar investments. That provides countries with up-to-date information on what is happening in the world. The second area is capacity building. And I use this in the broadest sense of the word, because obviously we need to train people who can design and set up and operate solar projects. If you are a solar manufacturer or a developer, you will say, who will work for me? Therefore, what we are focusing on is developing and training people with certification so that they can then be hired by these companies. Similarly, we are creating policymakers. We have been surprised at the interest we found in the training program on solar technology for bankers. Across the world, we have seen bankers come in. Clearly, it is important to them. So, providing knowledge to all of these based on the knowledge of all that is happening in our member countries has been very important to us. I spoke of the payment guarantee mechanism. Again, how will it be used? Unless we have people who are trained in using it, it will be very difficult. So all of this becomes together in the creation of knowledge and in its dissemination to build up local demand for solar energy.
Can you tell us about the energy transition targets committed to by India and the significance of solar power in our renewable energy ecosystem?
I'm very bullish as far as the solar future in India is concerned. And I'm bullish for two reasons. The first is an economic reason. Today, solar energy provides electricity that is cheaper than any other form of electricity as long as the sun is shining. So during the day, we are able to get electricity at 1.99 rupees per unit, whereas from coal, it is 3.5 rupees per unit. From diesel, it's almost 25 rupees per unit. But as I said, it is only during the time when the sun is shining. We have talked of batteries and the kind of price decreases that are occurring. And we expect that in the next 1, 2, 3 years, we will see solar plus batteries providing electricity that is cost effective with fossil fuel based electricity. This will be an important point. So economics is one, because beyond that point, it will become difficult to justify any new fossil fuel based investment. The second is that as we grow, and particularly as the production linked incentive scheme comes in, there will be a larger and larger number of manufacturers and developers who then find their own ways of setting up solar energy to meet your needs and mine.
And sir, does India, being a tropical country, a Surya Putra, as Prime Minister Narendra Modi said, and also our large consumer base, make us an ideal production hub come market of solar power? Which all sectors of our economy you feel can benefit from a boom in solar energy?
I am also a marginal farmer. For the last 7 years, I've used a solar pump. It has completely changed the production dynamics and the economic dynamics of my little farm. I expect that solar pumps will completely change the picture of things to come. We are seeing all kinds of interesting models coming up to address this, whether it is for primary health centers, where vaccines storage becomes a lot more effective if solar can be used to provide the cooling. We can have solar cold storages, where essentially you're freezing water to meet the need during the night when the sun is not there. One can have solar rooftop systems. In other words, the way in which you and I will start using solar in our daily lives.
So both poor and rich countries are part of this alliance. So how does the ISA manage the cost sharing between rich and poor countries?
The goal of the ISA is to provide services to all its members. Obviously, we provide more services to the members who do not have as much solar capacity as the richer countries do. So, for example, the information, the advocacy that we do is for all our countries. The capacity building that we do is largely for our developing countries. We also help create demonstration programs. That's only for the least developed countries and the small island developing states. We do not have every country paying a membership fees. Countries can voluntarily provide whatever they so wish. India has been by far the largest contributor to the International Solar Alliance, and as a result we are headquartered in India. We are possibly the only intergovernmental organization which is headquartered in India, but then this was an Indian idea. Remember, it is the Prime Minister of India, Mr. Narendra Modi, who put up this idea before the world at the Climate Change Conference in Paris.
There's another initiative which we've been hearing about, the Global Solar Atlas, launched by ISA and World Bank. What is the use of this initiative for investors and solar developers?
At the end of the day, if I want to set up, for example, a solar park, I want to figure out where to do it. The Solar Atlas provides me with a picture of the kinds of solar insolation that is available in various places. It also provides me with information on various countries, what are the kinds of programs, and consequently helps me as a developer in figuring out which would be the best geographies to invest in.
So where do you see India standing in the global solar energy ecosystem, and how do you see India playing a leadership role?
India has a huge amount of experience, and that is the biggest thing that India brings to the table. Through the International Solar Alliance, we move to other countries, and ultimately, if you want to say something, you have to say how it can be done. Well, here is an example of how it has been done. We as a country have over 60 gigawatts of solar energy in the country. As little as, I think, 2012 or 2013, it was zero. So we went from 0 to 60 in, 10 years? How did we do it? So first is the institutional models, the openness, the transparency, competitive bidding, the power purchase agreements that the developers, that were already done between the places where we wanted the plants and potential users. All of these kinds of things help in development. The second thing is that there is also therefore a huge amount of experience amongst players which can be moved to other countries. So if we are talking of these entrepreneurs in Africa, who do they have as their mentors? I talked of the 3 companies which are making a business of providing mini-grid solar in UP. They are the mentors that they are looking forward to. We therefore look at India providing here and now experience to the rest of the world as it builds up solar capacity.
So, Prime Minister Narendra Modi has repeatedly stressed on the importance of sustainable living and sustainable development. You feel that maximizing adoption and usage of solar energy through initiatives like ISA will help meet our sustainability goals and also address the challenge of energy security worldwide?
The answer is very simply yes. Of course it will, because solar enables local development of both jobs and of productivity. It helps develop a local energy resource rather than imports. It lowers the global CO2 emissions. That's all great. But what it also does is enable development to occur in a manner that is conducive to global sustainability. This is important. And when we look at the two of them together, here is a model that is being presented on how we can move ahead. This experience by doing provides a much greater degree of confidence to other countries.
And the aspect of energy security, which has become a major, developing into a crisis in some countries as we see, you feel that solar energy can help alleviate that?
In 2021, before the Russia-Ukraine war broke out, we saw about $200 billion being invested in solar. This year, early estimates suggest that that figure has already been crossed. We are in October. What it implies is that the war has provided a far greater degree of urgency to invest in solar energy as opposed to imports of fossil fuels.
Dr. Mathur, thank you so much for taking out time and enlightening us about the various key aspects of this path-breaking global initiative towards a clean and green earth.
Thank you very much.
This is All India Radio giving you the world news. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on Twitter at AIR News Alerts.
Welcome back to World News. Bangladesh and India do not compete with each other in the international market for export in the garment sector, but complement each other, said Farooq Hassan, President of the Bangladesh Garment Manufacturers and Exporters Organization, BGMEA, addressing the media in Dhaka on Sunday to announce the holding of the first ever branding event for apparel sector named Made in Bangladesh Week between November 12th to 18th. Farooq Hassan said that exports from Bangladesh to other countries also boosts export from India, as many of the inputs are sourced from India. Farooq Hassan said that the export of ready-made garments showed almost 99% growth in the first 2 months of the current financial year in July and August. He said that the ready-made garment sector export to India is likely to cross $1 billion in the current financial year compared to $764 million last year. The BGMEA president said that it is a win-win situation for both the countries as they cooperate in design development and value addition. He announced that BGMEA will soon take up events to promote brand Bangladesh for the apparel sector in India. India has rejected the Global Hunger Index Report 2022, which has ranked India at 107 among 121 countries. The Ministry of Women and Child Development said in a statement, the index is an erroneous measure of hunger and suffers from serious methodological issues. It said consistent effort is yet again visible to taint India's image as a nation that does not fulfill the food security and nutritional requirements of its population. The ministry said the report is not only disconnected from ground reality but also chooses to deliberately ignore efforts made by the government to ensure food security for the population, especially during the COVID pandemic.
Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman has said that during India's presidency, it would like the G20 to explore the potential for multilateral development banks, MDBs, to enhance climate financing through leveraging and intermediating resources. She said this during her meeting with the President of World Bank Group, David Malpass, in Washington, D.C. on Saturday. They discussed various issues including India's G20 presidency, improving capital adequacy framework of MDBs, addressing debt vulnerabilities and enhancing World Bank Group's engagement with India through Knowledge Exchange and Multilateral Investment Guarantee Agency MIGA. Ms. Sitharaman thanked Mr. Malpass for a productive development committee meeting and support to India over the last 2 years, especially in increasing the single borrower limit. The finance minister mentioned that World Bank has been a valuable partner of the G20 since inception, and India looks forward to close collaboration with World Bank during upcoming G20 presidency. Impressed by the quick and deep penetration of Government of India's financial inclusion and digitalization initiatives among the poor, Mr. Malpass assured Ms. Sitharaman of showcasing this to other finance ministers as a way for governments to help their poor leapfrog in these challenging times. The United States Agency for International Development, Usaid, said that it has launched 30-plus developmental programs in Afghanistan to bring life-saving assistance to vulnerable communities. The agency said in a recent report that the majority of Afghans depend on agriculture for their livelihoods, and therefore the USAID's deep commitment to the people of Afghanistan continues, and our efforts to improve food security begin with the men and women who dedicate their lives to serving their communities. The Ministry of Agriculture, Irrigation and Livestock called the aid important for Afghanistan's agriculture sector. When these projects are implemented, most of the problems in the agriculture sector will be removed, said Masbahuddin Mustain, a spokesman of the ministry.
Chinese President Xi Jinping on Sunday expounded the missions and tasks of the Communist Party of China, CPC, on the new journey of the new era. From this day forward, the central task of the CPC will lead the Chinese people of all ethnic groups in a concerted effort to realize the second centenary goal of building China into a great modern socialist country in all respects, and to advance the rejuvenation of the Chinese nations on all fronts through a Chinese path to modernization, he said at the opening session of the 20th CPC National Congress. In another news, China called on its citizens in Ukraine to evacuate the country. The appeal was made by the Foreign Ministry and China's embassy in Ukraine in a news release. China's embassy in Ukraine will assist in organizing the evacuation and transfer of personnel in need. Those in Ukraine should contact the embassy as soon as possible and register their personal information. People who voluntarily evacuate and transfer by themselves are asked to report to the diplomatic mission.
In cricket, qualifier rounds of the ICC T20 World Cup began today. In a huge surprise in the opening match, Namibia thrashed Sri Lanka with a 55-run win in round 1 match at Kardinia Park in Geelong, City of Australia this afternoon. After posting 163 for 7 in 20 overs, Namibia bundled out Sri Lanka for 108 runs in 19 overs. Earlier, Sri Lanka won the toss and opted to bowl first. In the second match of the day, Netherlands beat UAE by 112 runs in 19.5 overs. Earlier, UAE had won the toss and chose to bat against the Netherlands. UAE had given a target of 111 runs in 20 overs for Netherlands to win. India will play the warm-up match against Australia on Monday. The match will start at 9:30 a.m. Indian Standard Time. Previously, Team India has played 2 unofficial warm-up games against the Western Australia 11, winning 1 and losing 1. India will play arch rivals Pakistan in the tournament opener on 23rd October. In chess, 19-year-old Indian Grandmaster Arjun Ergyasi defeated the reigning 5-time world chess champion Magnus Carlsen in round 7 of the preliminaries of the AIM Chess Rapid Online Chess Tournament today. This is the first victory of Ergyasi over Norwegian Carlsen. Ergyasi had earlier lost to Carlsen in the Julius Baer Generation Cup final in September. Ergyasi, who had gone down to compatriot Vidit Santosh Gujarati to make a losing start in the event, is currently in 5th place after 8 rounds.
In shooting, India clinched 3 gold medals, including a double gold by Udaivir Sidhu, to consolidate their second position on the medals tally at the ISSF World Championship in Cairo, Egypt. Udaivir won both the junior men's 25-meter and standard pistol titles, while Isha Singh clinched the junior women's 25-meter pistol crown. In football, the India under-20 men's national football team takes on Australia in their next match of the AFC Under-20 Asian Cup 2023 qualifiers at the Ali Sabah Al Salim Stadium in Kuwait City on Sunday. The match started at 7 p.m. Indian Standard Time. The first round of matches in Group H ended with a 4-2 victory for Iraq against India, while Australia defeated hosts Kuwait 4-1 in the second match of the night. These results put Australia and Iraq in the respective top 2 spots on the table, while India and Kuwait occupy 3rd and 4th places respectively.
Now let us take a look at the major developments around the world as reported in the foreign press. The Washington Post reports massive fire breaks out in Iran's notorious Evin prison. The Guardian writes UK's lost leadership role hurt Somalia's fight against famine, says drought envoy. The Globe and Mail writes heavy fighting in Ukraine's annexed regions at Russian missile damages energy facility in Kyiv region. South China Morning Post reports says Biden calls testimony video from January 6 committee hearing devastating. The Financial Times writes at least 4 dead in fire at Iran's Evin prison after inmates clash with guards. And the Wall Street Journal reports China Xi Jinping stakes out ambitions with himself at the center.
And now, before we end, a quick look at the headlines once again. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar meets Egyptian counterpart Sameh Chokri to discuss opportunities in various fields. The 5th Assembly of International Solar Alliance to start on Monday in New Delhi. India needs to make consistent efforts to rank among top 10 countries in Global Innovation Index, says Commerce and Industry Minister Piyush Goyal. Usaid launches 30-plus development programs in Afghanistan to bring life-saving assistance to vulnerable communities. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman says India would like G20 to explore potential for multilateral development banks to enhance climate financing through intermediating resources. India rejects Global Hunger Index Report 2022, says attempt to taint country's image. In shooting, India clinches 3 gold medals at the ISSF World Championships in Cairo, Egypt. And in ICC T20 World Cup, in the opening match, Namibia beat Sri Lanka by 55 runs, while in the second match, Netherlands won by 3 wickets. And now, before we end, let us listen to Mahatma Gandhi's favorite bhajan Vaishnav Jan by artists from Poland. And with that, we end this bulletin. We'll be back at the same time tomorrow with the next edition of World News.